Hey everybody, sorry I'm late. Technical difficulties. Let me see if I can get rid of this music. Let me know if you can hear me okay in the chat. We had some technical difficulties this evening. Problems with OBS, not passing audio for whatever reason. You know, technology's great when it works. That's the key, when it works. Let me know if you can hear me okay. If you can, that would be great. I should probably turn down one of these. Can you hear me okay? Let me know in the chat. That would be wonderful if you could. Get my iPad out here. Hey, David, what's up, brother? Hey, thanks for letting me know we didn't have any audio, because it was looking like it was working fine here, but for whatever reason, was not working. Sounds good. Okay, good. Great, Jim. Thanks, Jim. Okay, so sorry I'm a little late. Welcome to a live stream here. We're going to, tonight we're going to take a look at a plugin that our moderator Dave here actually recommended, which is the PSP InfiniStrip. I downloaded the demo, played with it a little bit, want to show it to you, thought you might find it kind of cool. Before we get started, and we'll jump in because I know I'm a little late, but people probably are now not able to, because the link is probably changed because I had to restart the stream and everything. So we'll wait a few minutes. We got 18 people here. Hey, Alberta, what's up, brother? And I'll say hi to people in the chat and then we'll get moving. But before we get started, if you see the scrolling text below the video here, today started our Black Friday sale. So if you use the coupon code BLACK50 at checkout, you get 50% off all the training courses at homerecordingmadeeasy.com, all the single title courses. And you may say, what does that mean? That means the training packs. There's a couple of training packs where I've bundled courses together, and I've already heavily discounted them. Those will not apply with the coupon code, but there's only a couple of those. But the price of those is about 50% off to what it would be if you paid for them regular anyway. So just so you know that. So all single title training courses, the Made Easy series, the live mixing series, and all the Studio One courses are 50% off. Use BLACK50 in the checkout. Do that. If this is your first time here, let us know in the chat. Welcome to the family if you're here for the first time. Make sure that you're out at Home Recording Made Easy and you get your free mixing course right on the homepage. I'm sure Dave will put all these links as I'm speaking. He's usually really good about that stuff. Also, make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. Follow me on social media. It's really important. And last but certainly not least, if you find this live stream helpful to you in any way and you feeling generous, a super chat would be greatly appreciated. It helps me free up some time so I can do these things for you guys on YouTube at no cost to you. So that is what we're doing tonight. Let's jump over to the chat. Let's say hi to everybody and see how everybody's doing. So what do we got going on here? I'm going to have to do this a little differently because my iPad is on the fritz, but that's okay. I think I can manage it. Let's see. We'll see. So David's here. Obviously, Jim is here. Andy, what's up, brother? How are you? Good to see you, my friend. Jim is here. Hey, Jim. Arrow Proof is here. Sound cool. Let's see. Mad Dog is here. Hey, what's going on? DJ is here. Hey, what's up? How are you, Alberto? Hey, Alberto. Good to see you, my friend. Donnie's here. Donnie, you're not late. I was late because we had technical problems. So actually, you're right on time. See? Look at that. My problems become helpful to you because now you're on time. Ian's here. Hey, Ian, what's going on, my friend? So we have about 26 people here. We'll let people start to file in. If you have any questions at all about anything, now's the time to ask. So keep in mind, not only am I running Black Friday sales today or this weekend for your courses, but remember now, all the plugin manufacturers are starting to put all their plugins on Black Friday sales. So if you guys have been interested in checking out some plugins, we've been looking at tons of plugins over this last 12 months. Both on the YouTube channel here with all the reviews I've done and also at mixingmadeeasy.net. Now's the time to pick them up. Okay, there's a couple that come to mind that I can recommend for you, and you can check them out. The first and probably one of the most important ones. Hey, Ray, what's going on, brother? Oh, Andy says he's doing great. Live music is starting to come back. Wonderful. I know that's a main revenue stream for you, Andy, so I am happy for you. Ian, go ahead and ask a question. I'll get to you. Plugin Alliance. Go check out, see what they got going on for Black Friday deals. Pick up the Reference Metric AB, which is the reference track plugin. I've been using it a lot lately. If you're a member of Mixing Made Easy, you know all about it. I'm on you guys about getting it all the time. If you're into mixing and you need to use reference tracks, this Metric AB is really, really good. Go check it out at Plug on Alliance site. I don't know if it's on sale right now, but I'm sure it will be. And pick that plugin up. You'll probably be able to get that plugin for 50 bucks or so. It's worth it all day long. Okay, definitely check that out. Also, over at Waves, a couple of key plugins that I picked up over the last 12 months that I've been using a lot, that I recommend to a lot of my students over at Mixing Made Easy. Over at Waves, what is it called? Not Bass Rider. Max or Renaissance Bass. What's the other one? The MV2 compressor is really good. You could probably get those for 25 bucks each. I would highly recommend that. Vocal Rider, if you don't have Vocal Rider, really essential tools. Check those out as well. So Black Friday coming up, there's lots of cool plugins out there. If you've been looking to get deals, this is the time to get the deals. So, hey, Mad Dog, thank you for the super chat, brother. I really appreciate it. That's really cool of you. Thank you so much. That really does help. It allows me to free up my time so I can come on here and help you guys. And so I do appreciate it. Thank you. Ian's asking, using the XLR mix outs on the PreSonus Studio Live Series 3 mixer, how do you route the signals to them? The XLR mix outs. I'm not sure. Are you just talking about the main outputs? What do you mean the mix outs? Are you talking about the flex mixes? I don't have a mixer in front of me. If you're talking about the flex mixes or the auxes, let us know if that's what you're talking about. If that's what you're talking about, you route them with the buttons along the left-hand side, the mixes, the aux mixes. They call them flex mixes. That's how you would do it if that's what you're asking for. Dave's putting up the Waves and the Plugin Alliance links. Check those out. Really cool. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get anything for it, but go do that. Also, as well, I emailed you guys. If you're on the email list, Sweetwater's now running all their Black Friday stuff as well, up to 70% off. I sent you the links. If you don't mind using my affiliate link, that really does help me out. It doesn't cost you anything, but if you're looking for gear for your studio anyway, and you're looking for the time of year where you can get good deals on gear, Sweetwater right now is the time to go do that. So go check all that stuff out, man. Mad Dog says, I appreciate your time. No, I appreciate you guys being here, man. I really do. Thank you so much. Let's see. Hello, Dave. Does a USB mic need to be colored? I don't know what you mean by colored. Does it need to be colored? I don't know what that means. Sorry, if you can be more specific, I can try to help you. Dave is putting up the Waves in the chat as well. The Waves links to the MV2. That's a great plugin. What the hell's the name? I'm calling it Max Bass. That's not the plugin, not Bass Rider. I use it all the time. Dave, what is the plugin that I use over at the other website? It's for bass. So you hear stuff on the small speakers. What the hell's it called? R-Bass. Thank you, Dave. R-Bass. That's another great plugin. I did a review, and all these plugins I'm mentioning to you, there are reviews on them on our YouTube channel here. Go check out the playlist. I broke all the playlists down on the YouTube channel by plugin manufacturer to make it easy for you guys to navigate and find the plugin review that you want to check out. Check out R-Bass in the Waves plugin review folder. Perfect for getting kick drums, toms, drum toms, bass guitars to cut through on smaller speaker systems. Killer plugin. You may want to check that out. Dave's going to put that up on the chat too. The guy's on top of it. Ray says, what do you think about the Slate Digital VRS8 interface? I've never used it, but Slate Digital makes great stuff. They don't make any bad equipment and nothing that I've ever tried. So I don't know what the cost of that is, but I'm sure it's fantastic. I'm sure it's really good. Again, Ray, if you buy stuff at Sweetwater, here's the thing about Sweetwater. You get 45 days to return it. So if you buy something, a piece of gear for your studio, and you don't like it for some reason, no fuss, no muss. They'll send you a return label. They pay for the shipping back to you, or you to them. You can return it for a full refund. Okay, plus they have their Sweetwater finance card. If you guys don't know about that, I'm sure a lot of you do, where you could get 24, 36, 48 months with no interest. You may want to check that out. So I don't know about that interface, but I'm sure it's great. But if you buy it from a place where you can return it, you can try it and see if you like it. Ian says, you have XLR mix outputs on the right section looking from the back. Don't know how to hear stuff from them. You're probably talking about the flex mixes. The flex mixes, Those are like aux sends. They call them something different. If you got to use the user on the left, if you're looking at the front of the mixer, looking down at it like you're using the mixer, Ian, to the left-hand side, you're going to see a series of 2 buttons. I don't know what it's called because I'm not sitting in front of it. That is where you route from the flex mixes. Okay, you can download the manual online at priestonus.com, but I use those all the time. I use those for in-ear monitors for playing live. So for example, if I have stereo in-ears, which I do going into Flex Mix XLR 1 and 2, then on the front of the mixer, those series of buttons on the left-hand side, buttons 1 and 2, I link them together so they're stereo. And now my in-ears are connected to those. And then when you hit those 2 buttons, all your motorized faders are going to move. And then you can, if let's say I have, for example, vocals on channel 1, guitar on channel 2, bass on channel 3, once I hit that on the left-hand side, the buttons 1, 2, I can mix my guitar, my vocal, and my bass with the faders on the front. Then you hit the blue button above that goes back to the main mix, and you'll see the motorized faders change again. Does that make sense? I know it's hard to explain, but that's how you use it. Okay, DJ AF, well, thank you so much, man. Great donation. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Donnie Hill, thank you so much as well. You guys are great. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you guys taking care of me. That's great. You guys are fantastic. Mad Dog says Sweetwater also has flex payment plans as well. That's true. 3 and 6 months. They're fantastic. David's putting down my affiliate link in the chat. So if you're going to buy anything from Sweetwater, again, use that link. Take that link and leave it on your desktop. It's not just good for Black Friday. It's good 12 months out of the year. 3 months from now, if you go to buy something, if you use that link, it helps me. I get a small commission. But again, it doesn't cost you guys anything at all. So again, that helps. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. But I'm just asking you to, because it doesn't really matter to you one way or the other. But it does help support me, and it allows me, again, to continue to do these things for you guys. So thank you so much. So what we're going to do, we got 26 people still floating around here. I'm going to get my headphones on. We're going to bring up Studio One. Let's take a look at this plugin. If you guys want to ask some questions after the demonstration, we'll do more Q&A if you guys have it. No problem at all. So let me get up Studio One here. Let me get my headphones on. Let's get Studio One, and let's just take a look at this plugin. I haven't played with it very much, so let's look at it together. Okie dokie. Let me get myself some volume here, and we'll rock and roll. Cool. All right, so let me just wait until the chat catches up here. So the PSP Infinity Channel Strip, again, David S.J. recommended this to me. I didn't really know about PSP. I've heard of him, but he says it's really cool. He's tried it out. He really liked it. A few weeks back, we took a look, maybe a month ago or so, right, Dave? We took a look at the IK Multimedia Mix Box, which is a cool plugin. Some cool modules in there, some You know, IK Multimedia stuff really doesn't blow my skirt up, so to speak. Some of their stuff does, but we'll talk about that another time. But Dave said, hey, check out the PSP InfiniStrip. It's pretty cool. He likes it much better than the Mixbox. I guess he's tried it out himself. Okay, so let's check it out. So I played with it a little bit. We're going to walk through it. So I'm going to open up one instance here. And we have a 500 rack series, similar to the Slate VMR, similar to the Mixbox. Same concept. We have this one interface where you can load in a bunch of modules, rearrange them in any way you want, and you have your whole custom, if you will, channel strip set up right here. So we have a couple of ways to do this. So it's pretty simple layout here. If we look over here on the right-hand side, we have the settings. We can look at this in 2 different views. This is the full mode, which will give you all 8 slots across the screen, which is nice for a screen like mine because I have a larger screen. But let's say you're working on a laptop or smaller real estate, you could go to mini view mode, and you can do it in mini view mode where you don't see all the controls, but you can do it here. You could click on them here, and they'll pull up one module at a time. So if you have a smaller screen, that might be helpful to you. So there are different ways to size this. You could go to a resizable view mode, which will bring up 1, 2, 3, 4 modules. Okay. or you can go to full mode, which brings up all of them. Okay, pretty cool. So you have 3 different sizes that you can do here. Okay, now the one thing I will tell you about this right off the bat, in case I forget, because someone will ask me, or Dave will remind me, because he's always good about that. CPU wise, this thing is wonderful. This thing is beautiful from a CPU point of view. You can put these on all your tracks. You shouldn't have a problem with a moderately spec'd up computer. You know, something relatively new. You don't have to have high horsepower for this one. Okay, so we have all our modules here. So in the first slot here, let me just can I? Yeah, I guess I can. Well, I'll leave them here. Okay, so the first one is our preamp slot. Okay, so we have a preamp slot, and then if we click on this 80s pre here, we have a few different preamps. They have a 60s, a 70s, an 80s, and a 90s, or you can remove the slot like so. Okay, so in a blank slot, we'll say you have a preamp. Okay, you can pick up your preamp right here. Next to that, we have, let's remove that. I think this is our filters, right? Yeah, our filters slot. So we have 3 different types of filters. Basic filters, which basically just give you a high pass and a low pass, which is handy. One of the things I think about the mix box we talked about, someone will remind me, is that there were no filters on any of the EQs, low cut and high cut filters, which I thought was kind of strange. But this, they have 3 different types of filters. Basic filters, pro filters, which gives you a mid sweep, and then sidechain filters, which is kind of cool. Okay. Then next to that, we have our EQ section here, where we have a channel EQ, we have a pre, and then we have a retro. So 3 different types of EQs. Next to that, we have a compressor. Okay, we have 3 different types of compressors. We have optos, FETs, 1176 style, VCA. Okay, and then we have gates if you wanted to use a gate. We have a limiter. We have a control, which is a master control, which is kind of a master leveler. If you wanted to turn up or turn down the output based on some of the modules you have in here. We can remove that. And then you have insert X and insert Y. Insert X will let you pick any one of the modules. As you can see here, prior to insert X and Y, in the gate, for example, in the gate slot, you can only use a gate. In the limiter slot, you can only use a limiter, okay? If you want to be able to choose one of any of the types of modules, you would go to insert X or insert Y, okay? And I'll just pick one here. And they're all rearrangeable by just left clicking and dragging them around like this. So you can rearrange them just like you want. You can click on this and you can go to remove and you can remove it. Or if you just left click and drag it off the screen, when it turns red around the outside, you just let go and it removes it there. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward. Down along the bottom of each one of the modules, you have some factory presets here that you can pick from, and it changes the settings. Now, the one thing that I like about this particular unit, which you don't get with something like the Mixbox and or even the Slate Digital VMR, is, let's say, for example, we have a kick drum here. Let me just solo this up and get a little bit of a loop happen. Let me show you something. Let me try to learn you something, as my grandfather used to say. Okay, so here's a kick drum. Okay, so if I want to shut off these modules, I can just mute these other ones. Let's just listen to the preamp here for a second. Let me know if you can hear the audio okay in Studio One. So we have the 80s preamp up here right now, okay? The preamp is, you have an input gain. I haven't really read much about what this reference control does. I have to look into this a little bit more. You have a phase flip, a drive to drive signal, and you can add some additional noise if you want to add some of that analog goodness noise-wise. And you can turn the analog section on or off, which will turn off the drive and the noise, okay? But what I like is once you get the settings, or you could pick a preset. So let's say you come down here and we want to pick the analog preset, okay? Now, let's say you want to audition. This is the 80s style pre, right? Let's say you want to audition one of the other ones. Let's say we want to go to the 60s. You'll notice that the settings don't change. A lot of times when you switch modules or pull things in and out on different types of plugins, you have to reset them up. This will keep the settings exactly the same as the module prior. So you can really hear the tonal difference between the different modules because all the settings are the same, if that makes any sense. Now on a preamp, on a kick drum, It's not going to be that noticeable, but you can cycle through them. Here's the 60s. 70s got a little more snap. 80s. The 90s. Okay, now if I bypass it, so that's no processing. Audio level can come up a bit. Yeah, okay. Let me give you a little more level. We're just listening to a kick drum. You let me know if it gets too loud when I start bringing in other instruments, okay? And I'll turn it down. Okay, so there's our pre. So now from there, let's go to, I have a filter here. So again, we have you have 3 different types of filters. So pro filters I use, and the reason why I use the pro filter is because you have the mid band sweep, okay? So here in the middle here, we have the frequency here. We have how many dBs. You can take this plus or minus 24 dB, and then you have a Q setting here, okay? And some Q buttons down here as well. So let me give you an example of what this would do here. So like that hollowness here, right around that 250 mark, we'll pull that out. Get rid of that hollowness in the kick drum, right? So without the filter, okay, from that to that. Oh yeah, Dave just made a good point, right? And if I don't want to pick the filter, if I don't want to pick it through the menu, you can use these little 2 buttons, right? So if I go, oops, go up 1. Now you notice that it changed because the 3 different filter types, the only one that has the mid sweep is the pro filter. But you can do that on any of the modules. So if I want to cycle through the preamp, I can use the arrows, or I can use the menu. Thanks, Dave, for pointing that out. Okay, so now next to that we have an EQ. And once again, we have a couple of different EQs we can use. We have the channel. Oops. And then we have a retro. Okay, so like right here, on this one, I raise 6 dB. The frequency sliders are on the left here. So at, what is it here? It's 63 Hertz. I boosted almost 7 dB. And that was really it on this kick drum, okay? And again, if I want to change the EQ so I can hear if the style of EQ changes the tonality with the same boost at 63 Hertz, I could just do this. So you can see down here in the low end, I'm still boosting 63 Hertz. Similar. Okay. So the retro has a little bit more of a pillowy sound. That would make sense. This is going to be a little bit more warmer. Retro is going to be more of an Abbey Road kind of a thing in my mind. So again, you can see that I'm still boosting down here in the low end, 63 Hertz, 6.7 dB between all 3 of these EQs. You want a little bit more attack. This one would work. A little bit more poof. This one would work. But I like that feature. Now we go to compression. So we have an opto compressor here. All your usual subspecs, attack, release, threshold, ratio, mix for parallel compression, and then your makeup gain. Pretty standard, right? So we're only compressing a few dB, but if I want to go to a FET compressor, notice the attack and release times, everything stays the same. definitely a little bit of a tonality difference. Again, over YouTube, I don't know how much you're going to hear it. It's subtle, but you can really hear it on the click. The more the attack of the beater. It's a little bit more aggressive on the opto. Okay, now if I want to bypass all these modules just to see where we started, you can either do it up here, like you normally can in Studio One, or you could do it down here on the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, now you can also pick a whole signal chain as far as they'll lay out all the modules for you. So we could try that by doing this. Let's put another instance of this. We'll bypass that. I'll go to my InfiniStrip, if I could find it in this list of ridiculous plugins. What's this? PSP, right? Yeah. Okay, we want a mono version of this. So let's put this on here, a blank version. Okay, that comes standard. It comes preloaded for some reason. I think you can set it up as a template, as a preset, but let's do this. Let's take all these out, and then we can cycle through a couple of their preset signal chains, okay? So we come up here, kick drum. Okay, so there's the signal chain that they recommend. So they're adding a preamp, some basic filters, a gate, a compressor, an EQ, and a limiter. Check out another one. Kick drum SW. Okay, so you can do that as well. You can go through and you can take some predetermined entire channel strip presets and see what they lay out, and you can tweak it from there. I typically don't use gates and those kinds of things. Or you can build it from scratch. Okay, makes sense? So you got a ton of presets down here. Look at the list. How many are there? Over 100? Well, look at this. 200 maybe? 172 presets. Okay, so you can always play with that as well. I wanted to show you that. I'm going to delete that. Let's go back here. So here's our kick drum that we kind of mapped in. Okay, everybody with me? Cool. All right, let's go to snare. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, because when I was building it with drums, I was using all the same modules to try to give the drum set a set of cohesiveness. But let's change it up just because we're here doing a demo. So let's use the 60s on the snare, just because. Yeah, we could pick a preset here, maybe driven. It's going to give a lot more hype to the snare. Let's just listen to that without the other modules. So you can always cycle through some of these. Clean is going to give you no saturation at all. Okay, here's our filtering again. We're at 650. I took out some. Okay, we got a compressor or EQ. Sorry. Let's pick a different EQ this time. So we'll use this one. So at 4.5K here, I gave it about 2 dB. Oh, sorry. This is 4 dB at 240. And then up here at 4K, I gave it about 3 dB. I noticed that this EQ is very sensitive. Very, very little goes a long way. Long way. And then did we do a low cut? Yes, we did. We didn't do a low cut on this one, did we? No, let's do that now. So we can bring it around 100 or so. which would be good for a snare. So that's before the EQ. After. Okay, let's take a look at some compression. Here's an opto compressor. Let's go to VCA just to change it up. And we get about 3 dB of compression here. 4-to-1 ratio because we're not doing anything on any buses or anything like that. Let's try a couple others. So on the snare drum, these 3 compressors have just a very subtle difference in tonality. So when I'm cycling through these, because the settings are the same, and the compression's about the same amount, but the compressor reacts a little differently to the signal, right? An opto compressor is going to act a little differently or react differently than a FET to a VCA. And they're all tonally going to sound a little different, right? So if you've been, following me for any length of time, or if you've been taking any of my courses over the years, when we talk about compression, we talk about tone, right? All 3 of these compressors are going to do the compression thing just fine. We're really talking about how does it change it tonally. You can think of that as EQ in a way. When you combine it with the EQ that's the module before, what do you like the sound of? And it's it's subjective. It's whatever you like. The FET seems to have a little bit more snap to it. A FET is an 1176 style. One of the reasons why an 1176 style compressor is very popular to be used on snare drums is because it has a little snap to it. Okay, let's move over onto the overheads. Here we go. Okay, so let's mute these other modules and we'll cycle through. We'll use a different preamp this time. This is the overheads. So you can hear a real difference between the pre-80s, the 80s pre, and the 70s pre. The 70s is more of a Neve style. It's got that more kind of gritty, open top ends. Adds a little bit to the snap, if you will. Here's our filtering again. Okay, so we took a little bit out at 600 hertz. Take some of that boxiness out. Could do a little bit of a roll off here as well. Maybe around 60. That's before the filters. After. Okay. EQ. So the only thing I did here was added a little bit of 240, about 2 dB, to give a little bit more snap to the snare. Word of the day, snap. Not doing anything on the high end because I feel like it doesn't need it. I don't want to make it too bright. But we could just cycle through the 3 EQs to see how does it sound. Kind of like this one. Compressor. Okay, again, we're on a FET style. Let's go to an opto. Big difference there. And on this one, I put the master control because after boosting some of the frequencies, even though I have no makeup gain on the compression at all, the whole process is a little louder. So in order to level match this, I put this master control on here to level match it. So the before and after is the same volume. Make sense? Sounds good. We have our toms here. He doesn't hit the toms very much in this song, so I just kind of copied what I did with the overheads. So let's bypass that for now. Let's go to percussion. All right, so let's shut these off. And you also on this preamp side, which I didn't show you, along with the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, you have this thing just called gain, which, excuse me, doesn't have any of the analog and any of the noise or the drive sections. Kind of like the 60s on this one. Okay, here's our filters. Take a little out at 430, that boxiness, you know. Okay, EQ. So here at 10K, I added about 3 dB on the percussion, and at 240 or 250, I added quite a bit. Hand percussion to bring some of that out. That's before the EQ, after. Okay, here's our compressor. Triopto. Kind of like the FET. Okay, it's subtle. Subtle, but it's there. Okay, so if we just take a listen to our drums and our percussion, if I just were to turn off these channel strips on these, 3, 4, 5 tracks, here's where we started. That's before. After. Before. After. So what I like about this, compared to like say the IK Multimedia mix boxes, all the modules in this thing are usable that I've used so far. I don't use the gates. I'm not a big fan of the gates, but I'm sure they have a couple of gates in here, the limiter and stuff. Whereas in the IK Multimedia mix box, they got a couple of things that are really cool, but they got a lot of, you mean if you went back and watched the live stream, and I have it on the channel, so you can go back and watch that broadcast. It's, 50% of the stuff is kind of like, and then the stuff that's good is kind of like, it's okay. It's not, but this is more usable, I feel. If I had to pick one of the two, I would pick this one all day long. It's got fewer modules in it, but they don't have any junk in it that you're not going to use. It's all stuff that's very, very usable. And just to have the ability to switch between like the 3 EQs and all the settings stay the same, so you could really hear the tonality difference without having to reset the plugin every time you switch, to me, that's brilliant. More plugin companies ought to do stuff like that, in my opinion. So I like it a lot. So it's really subtle, but it works. Now on the master bus, someone will ask me, I just have a little mix master bus compression, 1 dB, Slate Digital, just because we have no other compression anywhere. Okay, let's listen to bass. Oh, before we get to bass, I had a little reverb on the drums, which right now you don't hear. And I am using a IK Multimedia reverb because their reverbs are really good. This is the IK Media, the Classic Studio reverb. I'm just using a small concert room preset that I tweaked to give the percussion in the drums a little bit of space. Okay, that's it. Their reverbs are really, really good. I will say that. IK Multimedia, I mean. Okay, so bass, I'm just using a preamp and a compressor. It didn't need an EQ in my opinion. Doing quite a bit of compression here. Before. Just kind of tightens things up. I really like this FET compressor a lot. This red one. It really retains the transients in a way. It retains the attack really nicely. Where if you want something a little more smooth, a little more rounded off, you would use something like the Opto. It's got a little bit more grit. This one. Okay, so here's a great example of the tonality difference in these preamps here. You can hear it on this acoustic guitar. Now, the reason why I'm doing this in the context of a mix is you always should be doing it in the context of a mix. But because we're listening for tone, EQ, that I want to see how this acoustic guitar tonally sits with the rest of the mix from an EQ perspective. Before we've even put an EQ on it, we can do that just with the preamp. You can hear as I cycle through these 4 preamps, how you'll hear the presence and the attack of the acoustic guitar come out on its own. Now remember, all the settings stayed exactly the same, but the way they're modeled, each one of these modules is a little bit different. And so depending on the source material, depending on the mix, will depend on maybe what you would pick from it, right? Which one would you pick? Well, if you do it in solo, it could be any one of them, but when you put it in the mix, it all changes. So listen to that. Listen to the pick attack. I'll turn up the acoustic a little louder than it probably should be in the mix to demonstrate what you should be listening for. So right now it is going to be too loud, but listen to the pick attack. Listen to the clarity of how the clarity changes from one preamp to another. hear the difference? Now I'm going to tuck it back in the mix volume-wise where it should be, and then see which one of these preamps gets it to cut nice and make it sit nice with the rest of the drums and the bass. Okay, I tend to like this one. Why? Because the 60s sounds a little bit warmer. It's a little bit more rounded off on the top. Remember I said that a little earlier when we were on the drums? So in this particular example, to my ear, through these headphones, this sounds like it makes it sit a little nicer. It's not as bitey, right? So we want something that's a little less bitey. So what do you think that's going to mean when we get to the compressor? We're probably going to stay away from the FET compressor, right? This is going to be a little bit too but let's try. Here's our filters. Okay, so here's another example. So hopefully you guys can tune in your ears to this. So remember I said I really like this FET compressor, the red compressor, on percussion and on snare, because it tends to retain the attack and it's snappy. It helps cut through the mix, which is the exact opposite of what I want with this acoustic guitar. It sounds a little bit harsh on the acoustic. But when I bring it to one of these other ones, like the VCA in particular, all of a sudden now it rounds off that top a little bit. So listen to the difference on the acoustic between the red one . Okay, this particular compressor seems like it adds back in some of that mid-range honk that I took out with the filters, whereas the VCA doesn't. Okay, listen to that. Hear the difference? Okay, hear the difference there? This again is when we talk about compression, we talk about tone. And again, I talk a lot more about this in our course. And again, we're talking about 50% off. Go get compression made easy if you don't have it. Because I do a lot of this, not with this particular plugin because it wasn't out yet when I made that course about 6 months ago, but I do a lot of A/B comparison like we're doing here, a little bit more deeper. So if you're not hearing what I'm describing here, or you're feeling like you're struggling with compression a little bit, Compression Made Easy is the course for you, okay? But this is what's great about being able to cycle through these like this, because I can instantly get the amount of compression that I want, and then I can just choose between the three and say, well, which one do I like better for this particular situation? And it's this one. This doesn't even really need any EQ, in my opinion. The compressor did the EQing for me. Okay, so that's our acoustic guitar. Let's pick another. Let's pick. You know what? Let's let's just do a lead vocal, and then we'll I'm not going to do the whole darn mix. So let's do the lead vocal here, and we'll do the same thing, and then we'll call it a day here. And I'll get to some of your questions because there's 60 people here, and I want to answer any questions that you guys have. So let's listen to some vocals here.
I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down.
Oh, by the way, they have a de-esser in here, which is really cool.
Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I'm alright as I pick up the pieces that I've left in me. I'm alright being away from you, and I'll be fine cleaning out the corner, putting back in order. Know I will always have this too, a little piece of you.
The other thing I like about these preamps, and again, I'm thinking about when I did the Neve 1073 plugin shootout, and there's several videos over the last few months. You can go check the archive after the broadcast. One of the ones that I checked out was the Slate Digital one, the FG73. And I remember we put that across a bunch of tracks, and it was so subtle of a difference. It was almost indistinguishable on a single track. Whereas these preamps on an individual track, you can really hear the difference between the three different modules. I mean, there's a huge difference in this on this vocal. I'm going to just get back to that first verse here so you guys can listen to the difference. Big difference, which I like. Sometimes plugin companies, they'll do stuff like this, and they'll put out, a plugin that has 3 different or 4 different preamp modules, and they sound exactly the same. Or there's so minute of a difference, it's neither here nor there, right? It's almost like they threw in, instead of giving you 1 preamp that just worked well, they gave you 4 that worked exactly the same. You know what I mean? Not this. There is a definite tonal difference here.
I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down.
Hear that? Big difference. I like the 60s. Now this needs compression. There's a lot of poking out words here. Let's bring in this compressor. Let's see what that does.
Where there's a peacefulness of mind,
we're compressing a lot here too.
Where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around.
So here's something interesting. What happens if we put an opto compressor into a VCA compressor? There's a lot of spiky words, a lot of spike going on in this thing.
I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life?
That's an interesting thing to do there. You can always mess around with that. Let's bring some EQ in.
I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life? I know the season's right for change.
Again, a nice de-esser here too, which works pretty well. I'm pretty impressed with the de-esser too. Not too bad.
It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life?
Okay, let's bypass all this processing.
I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life?
Okay, so there we go. So if we go, where did we start from? Again, we didn't do all the tracks, but if I just turn off all of the infinity strips, here's where we started.
I know the season's right for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down.
After.
Where there's a peacefulness of mind, where will my heart come back to life?
Okay, so there it is. So someone I saw in the chat asked about CPU, and I think I said earlier, it's not a CPU hog at all. But if I take a look at what we're doing here, performance monitor, I'm running 12%, and we're running what? 13 of these. Now, again, I have a highly spec'd computer, you know, a little more highly spec'd than the average computer. So can you put 20 of these, 25 of these on your session? Yeah, probably. Yeah, you could. So it's not bad. Not bad from a C. Oh, and 12% includes these two reverbs that I'm using from IK Multimedia. So now it's actually only about 10%. If I take away the master bus, 9%. So that's about where we are. So it's not a CPU hog at all. So I wouldn't worry about that. But that's the Infinity channel, the InfiniStrip by PSP. Really cool. I like it. It's a really nice plugin. Dave's got some links floating around. I saw him putting them in the chat. Again, I don't know if they're on sale. I'm just using the demo right now. I don't know if I'll pick it up or not. It depends on what they put it on sale for. I do like it. I'm probably going to use it to mix January's content for mixingmadeeasy.net before the demo runs out. I'll probably do that next week. I'm going to mix that content next week for January. So they'll be able to see, our students will be able to see this in a little bit more depth and detail on a full mix. But there you go. That's something that you guys can check out. So let's head back on into the chat. Hopefully you found that helpful and you guys enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed using it. It's a cool plugin, something worth checking out, I think. Let's see. And then any questions you have, if you guys were asking questions and I didn't get to them, please retype your question. We still have 60 some odd people here, which is great. Really do appreciate everybody sticking around. Once again, if you found this helpful to you in any way, feel free to use the super chat. Super chat, put your question at the top of the list. And for the ones that done that already tonight, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. You're very kind. Excuse me. Ian says, reverbs are always a problem for CPU. Yeah, you know, the good ones are. The good ones are. The ones that are modeled really well are usually CPU hogs. They are. There are a few exceptions to that, like the Slate Digital Verb Suites Classic is really CPU friendly and it sounds really good. But some of the more better reverb plugins on the market that I own tend to be a little bit CPU heavy. That is true. That is true. Let's see. How do you get so good at mixing? Do you go through classes, trial and error? I'm learning through books and trial and error. Can you get by with that approach? You can. It's going to take a lot longer. How do you get better at mixing? Practice. And by using the courses at Home Recording Made Easy. I mean, I got a ton of beginner courses, intermediate and advanced courses. I mean, 60 or 70% of, well, probably 80% of my website is around mixing. So that's how you get good at it. You take classes, you take courses, but really, what I tell people is pick, there's so much information out there as far as training for mixing. You could find all the information you want on YouTube if you want to spend your whole life combing through all the videos and trying to find good information. So what I would suggest is find an instructor that you really seem like you can learn from and that you click with and that you can understand their style of teaching. And then just focus on that one instructor, whether it's me or somebody else. Teaching is a very strange in that one student will learn, a ton from me and find that my teaching style clicks with them very, really well, and they'll spend all their training with me. And then another student will say, well, I like, this other engineer because they just relate to them better. We all learn differently. It's just like when you were in school learning from teachers. Some teachers you'll learn a lot from and you have a connection with and you click with and you have an easier time learning, and another classes are more challenging. It depends on the teacher's approach, and everybody teaches a little differently. So what I would say is find an instructor that works for you and just stick with that, and just stick with that. Part of the problem is that a lot of people bounce around from here to there and here, there, here, there. They're buying all these courses from all these different people, and they get so overwhelmed with the information, they never end up learning anything. They don't have the time to spend on it. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to know how you get good, it's just like, I always equate learning how to be a good mix engineer to learning how to be a good musician, a guitar player or a drummer, right? You don't pick up the instrument and in 2 or 3 weeks, you're now, Eddie Van Halen, he's in the news a lot, seeing as he recently passed, unfortunately, right? You spend thousands of hours working on the craft, and it is a craft, and you will get better at it just like you would as an instrument, right? So I would say if you don't have any of my training courses based on that question, you're not going to find them at a cheaper price than now. Go pick them up. And if you're a beginner mixer, here's what I would suggest for anyone that's listening, not just Ian, because Ian's been around here for a while. If you're using Studio One, if that's the DAW that you use, then get Mixing in Studio One, Volume 1, okay? If you're not using Studio One, let's say you're using Pro Tools, Cubase, Ableton, Reaper, Luna, Logic, Cubase, whatever. You can pick up Mixing Made Easy Volume 1. They're 2 different courses, mix 2 different songs. What are the differences? One really is heavily focused in Studio One, where we're only using stock plugins, even though we only use stock plugins in Mixing Made Easy Volume 1 as well. But in Mixing in Studio One, I spend a lot more time teaching you how to get around Studio One, some of the functionality, shortcuts, things like that, because it's Studio One specific. But those 2 courses, if you're a beginner, and again, regardless of any DAW that you use, all the concepts and the techniques will transfer to any DAW. But those 2 courses are perfect beginner courses, right? Perfect. Okay. And if you're in those courses, we go over EQ and compression quite a bit, obviously. And if you're struggling with EQ and compression because you're new to mixing, then you also want to look at EQ Made Easy and Compression Made Easy. Okay. Or if you just want to get everything in one clean swoop, just go get the Mixer Beginners Pack. It has Mixing Made Easy Volume 1, EQ and Compression Made Easy in one nice little package. Okay. Now that is already discounted at about 45% off. So the coupon code won't work. It's already discounted in the price. But that's what I would recommend. That's why I built the Beginner's Pack. If you are a beginner mixer and you want to know what you take those 3 courses. I hope that makes sense. For anyone else that might be asking that question as well. Okay? All right. Let's see. Okay, any other questions? Anything else at all? Ian says he may purchase the PreSonus mic. It's a great mic. I'm using it now. It keeps loosening up on my stand. I got to tighten it better. But I like it a lot. I like it. It's a great mix. Oh yeah, and Dave is also, I forgot. Thanks, Dave. Good thing you're here. MixingMadeEasy.net. If you really want to learn the craft of mixing, that's where you go. But the doors are going to open in January. Membership right now is closed. I only open up membership twice a year for enrollment. You'll hear about it about 2 weeks before, right around Christmas time, January 1st. We're going to open the doors for 5 days. If you want to sign up for MixingMadeEasy.net, that's really where you're going to learn how to mix, okay? And you don't have to be a real experienced mixer to be a member. It's really more for beginners and intermediates, okay? So that's another option for folks as well. Ian says, I use PreSonus products about 90% of the time. You're on Studio One 4.6. Okay, great. Then go get Mixing in Studio One Volume 1. That was done in version 4.5. That's what you want. And Dave's got the beginner's pack up there. You can go check out the beginner's pack as well. But really, at the end of the day, you can have all the courses in the world, but if you don't sit down and do a lot of mixing, you won't get better at the craft of mixing. It's as simple as that. And that's the cold, honest truth that a lot of instructors and people who are selling stuff online won't tell you. You know, yeah, my courses will help you if you actually sit down and use them and then go off after the course and actually apply it to your projects. If you don't do that step, then you're just wasting your time and wasting your money. You won't get good at it. It's just like anything, right? So, and that's just being honest, you know? So if you take the courses and you practice, you will get better at mixing. If you become a member of mixingmadeeasy.net and you actually use the content, I can guarantee you within 6 months, your mixes won't sound anything like they do now, in a good way. I know that because we talk about that in our coaching calls every month, and anyone here that's a member of mixingmadeeasy.net will testify to that, I'm sure. Okay, do we have any other questions from anybody at all? I do appreciate everybody being here. Again, sorry with the technical difficulties early on and I was a little late. I do apologize. But hey, sometimes these things happen. But now everything seems to be working good. Let's see. I have also Practical Recording Techniques books by Bruce and Jenny Barlett. Great books referencing to read through. Yeah, books are cool too. If that's how you learn better, more effectively, then absolutely use books. Use books. Mad Dog says, great stream tonight. See you next time. Yes, thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you. And if I don't see you guys here on any other live broadcast between now and Thanksgiving, you and your family have a happy Thanksgiving, and stay safe out there. Make sure you, oh, by the way, before everybody takes off, make sure you get the thumbs up out here. Hit the thumbs up. That helps me, helps the YouTube algorithms, right? Because this will stay up on YouTube so people can watch the replay, and I'll put timestamps so people can jump around and find out where everything is. So that'll be cool. So any other questions at all, let me know if you have any other questions about anything, because if not, I'm going to head out and I'm going to go do what I do after every live stream, eat dinner. So let me know if you have any questions. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help. And again, as I've said before, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media. And most importantly, make sure you're on the homerecordingmadeeasy.com email list, because that's where you're going to hear about all the deals and discounts and everything else throughout the year. Okay? Alrighty. Calling once, going twice. I want to thank Dave again. Dave, thanks so much for moderating once again. I do appreciate you all here. We still got 50 people here, so if you guys, again, I don't want to cut out early and then you see a bunch of questions in the chat room. So if you have anything, go ahead and again open up another web browser. Make sure you get your 50% off. Right? Where is it? Black50. That's the coupon code. 50% off all the courses this weekend. Go do it. Ian says, what would you recommend putting on the master post inserts? The only thing I would put there would be a limiter. Personally, that would be it. Okay, so make sure you guys head over, go use the coupon code. Don't pay full price. Okay, go get 50% off. I only do this once a year. Actually, I did it with the coronavirus. The coronavirus, when it first hit, I did a 50% sale for 2 weeks because everyone was stuck at home. And so I wanted to try to help everyone get training while they were stuck at home with this darn pandemic that we're still going through, for crying out loud. But anyway, but typically this sale only happens once a year. So if you want to save money, now's the time to save money. Okay, no other questions. So I am going to head on out of here. Again, I want to thank everybody again for joining me. I do appreciate all your support. Thank you to the few folks that left a super chat. That was very, very kind. I hope you enjoy all the training that you guys are picking up. I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. And to all my mixingmadeeasy.net members, I will see you Monday night when we do our coaching call and we critique some mixes together. And then we'll all be off for the holiday. And I will see you guys very, very, very soon. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Take care.